Teachers, firefighters, police officers, other public employees in the state had their rights to use a union to collectively bargain stripped away from them on Friday night when Governor Spencer Cox signed HB 267 into law. That bill makes it so that public employers can no longer bargain with unions like the Utah Education Association, the Professional Firefighters Association, and other unions for public employees. Originally, this bill sailed through the Utah House, but it hit a little bit of a roadblock in the Senate as there was massive opposition from Utah's union members, and it looked like there might be some sort of compromise in the works. Lawmakers did float a substitute version of the bill that would still allow the unions to collectively bargain on behalf of their members. The sticking point was a provision that required all of those public unions to hold a vote every couple of years to recertify. In the version that the Republican majority was pushing, they would need a 100% participation rate in those elections, and if a union member did not vote, then they would be recorded as a no vote. The unions wanted to use the same method that's used to elect members of the legislature. 50% plus one of the people who voted in that election, not everybody who is eligible to vote. That was the roadblock. They couldn't get over that. So late last week, the Republican-controlled Utah Senate pushed the original version of the bill through, and it went to Governor Cox's desk, and union members thought that they were going to convince him to veto it. There were some large demonstrations outside of his office urging him to veto the bill, but late Friday night, Cox signed it into law. Now, lawmakers insist that this was not targeting the Utah Education Association, which is the state's largest teachers union, but it's very hard to believe that stance because the legislature, specifically Republicans in the legislature, were very upset at the teachers union for opposing Amendment A, which would change the way that public education is funded in the state, and over their lawsuit against the Utah Fits All Scholarship Program, which is just a private school voucher program. The Utah Education Association is challenging the constitutionality of that in court, and this bill was widely seen as retribution for those actions that were taken by the union last year. So what does this mean? This really will hamstring those public sector unions going forward. Not every school district has collective bargaining for their teachers, but there are a number that do, and that's no longer the case. Teachers will no longer be represented by the union when it comes to salary and benefit negotiations. Now, this is not over because the bill did not pass with a 2/3 majority in the House and Senate. It got less than that in both houses, which is one of the reasons why they thought Governor Cox might veto it. Since it did not get that 2/3 majority, the unions might launch an effort to collect signatures and put it on the ballot as a referendum. That's happened a couple of times in the past. In 2007, lawmakers passed a school vouchers program, and the Utah Education Association organized their members, got enough signatures to put it on the ballot where it was defeated. And then in 2019, lawmakers passed a sweeping tax overhaul bill, and opponents were able to get enough signatures that it would have gone on the ballot, but lawmakers came into session and repealed it before that could happen. So that's a possibility. It's going to be very hard for them to do that. Organizers would have to collect more than 140,000 signatures in just 40 days. If they are able to get enough signatures to put the issue on the ballot, then the law goes on hold until voters have a chance to weigh in 2026.